Hello and welcome to the Somatic Movement and Mindset podcast with me, clinical somatic educator and founder of Total Somatics, Heidi Hadley. The Somatic Movement and Mindset podcast has been designed to help you gain a deeper understanding to how your mind and body work. You will learn about your amazing mind and body and why over time you can feel pain, recurring injuries and poor posture. Within this podcast, I will teach you why this doesn't have to be your future or the norm for you. Would you like to learn how to reduce pain, move freely, and gain a new lease of life? Let's get started.
Hello and welcome back. Now, this is the first week of Somatic in September for 2023. And even if you're watching this after September 2023, it's still incredibly relevant for whenever you're listening to it. But every year I like to hold the theme of Somatic in September, and it just allows us to stop and reassess what's happening and how we're faring as we then enter into the final part of the year. So what we're going to consider in this series is how our emotions are very heavily influencing our body. You will hear in the third episode of this series how somebody in particular has had to harness their mindset using total somatic principles, and during some incredibly challenging times, how she was able to ride the storms, as it were, but using that with a lot of insight and using a lot of resources to assist her with that. So I thought, let us start out with today with considering a very common emotion, and that emotion that also has a huge physiological effect. And we're going to sort to delve in and consider how total somatics can support you here too. So let us consider anxiety, something that we hear a lot of people talking about now. People feel different levels of anxiety. And the Latin word for anxiety has a bodily rather than a mental description or origins, really. So the Latin means to choke or to strangle. And consider, for instance, say a panic attack, which is a very common experience with people with anxiety, in today's society. So panic attacks, they really start to create a sudden onset of this intense apprehension, this fearfulness, this terror. And it's often associated with feelings of impending doom. And symptoms can also show up as like shortness of breath, palpitations, chest pain or chest discomfort, choking, and that's sort of like a smothering sensation. And there can be this fear that you feel like you're going crazy or that you're losing control. And other symptoms could be nausea or tingling sensations that make you quite like hyper aroused, wondering what's going on. And there could be this hot or cold bodily temperatures and dizziness. There are so many physiological responses that can happen as a result of panic attacks. And, obviously that's a part of anxiety. But what we're going to consider in today's episode is the impact that has on our muscles and our joints, our nervous system, and regions of the brain. Because frequently switching into states of anxiety will create patterns of muscular tension throughout your body. You start to become a collection of programs and patterns that you do on a regular basis. So if you are constantly or quite often feeling these emotions of anxiety, it will start to hold a lot of tension in your body. And so people then are prone to feeling additional panic, and it's like this vicious circle, because when they have this tension, it actually creates a heightened pain or heightened sensitivity to pain or bodily sensations. Because with anxiety, what comes along from this is a dialing up of sensitivity within the nervous system. It's a survival mechanism. And of course, if we were in a true survival situation and we were fleeing for our life, we would need our senses to be heightened in service of survival. But nowadays, people are still living in these emotional states of, say, anxiety. And so it's increasing this sensitivity within their nervous system. And also don't forget that if you've got constant anxiety that's building up, that increases your cortisol levels, which are produced when you're anxious and you're stressed. And the cortisol will bathe the sensory nerves in your body, and it starts to create that hypersensitivity or that irritation to the sensory nerve endings. So can you see why it's so important that we start to manage our emotional and mental health and well-being for the benefit of soothing and calming down our sensory nervous system? Because remember, in the wild, that those heightened sensations are designed to allow us to flee or to fight a situation. They are dialed up. And yet in nature, what we see with animals that are in that situation is when they are out of danger, they have the capacity to dial that back down and bring their nervous system back into a state of balance. Whereas we as humans, we've lost that practice. That's something that within Total Somatics, I teach you again, is how we bring that practice back into our life so we can have that resilient and flexible nervous system that we will go into stressful situations, but we know how to come back into a state of balance. We know how to deal with the anxiety and manage that pretty quickly because of the techniques that I teach you. So you see, Total Somatics has 3 pillars that are involved, and that's mindset, movement, and mindfulness. And I'd like to give you a few things that you can consider and take away as we spend time with Somatic in September, because it's not just about acquiring information, it's learning techniques that we can apply today, and also allowing us to meditate on where are we in our life at this point? Where are we with our health and well-being intentions and goals? Could we tweak things slightly so that we start to improve the quality of our life? Maybe if we have that recurring pain and injury, could we consider what I'm teaching in Total Somatics to help to address at a root cause of what's happening? And you see, when we start to learn techniques within Total Somatics, we start to manage our inner world. And when we manage our inner world, it allows us to manage all sorts of situations when our external world is pretty chaotic. And again, as you will see with these episodes with Somatic in September, it's really important that we take stock on a regular basis and reset from the inside out. And so you see, when we're anxious, our brainstem does have this instinctive survival stress response, and it is identical to what we see in nature. And so it is a subconscious pattern, which means it happens automatically. It is there for our safety. But what we want to do is move away from living predominantly in subconscious or mindless activities and postures and become more conscious or more mindful of our posture, of our emotional makeup, of what we are doing to feed and nourish our nervous system. And when I say feed and nourish, I don't mean food, I mean material, content. What kind of things do we watch? What kind of things do we read? Who do we talk to? What do we associate with? Do we love gossip, or do we love to actually talk about more proactive, positive subjects, which will lift our emotional, mental, physical, and energetic health and well-being? And so let us consider how, if we continue to live in a stress response, we create, like we'd see in the animal kingdom, either a hypervigilance, like we're ready to fight or we're ready to flee, or what we can sometimes see is this low energy. And in the animal kingdom, you can see animals playing dead, and it's a survival mechanism to hope that the predator will just disappear. And so that's really what we see in society now with humans. They're either high functioning anxiety, go, 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 or they're low energy, finding it incredibly hard to get going. And either way, there is anxiety associated with it. And so what we want to do is look at how we can create that balance. And that's really what Somatic in September will do. Because what I'd like us to consider for a moment is fitness. Now think about physical fitness. When you exercise and your heart races and it's elevated, a sign of really good physical fitness is how quickly your heart rate will come back to a resting heart rate, a nice rhythm, a nice steady heart rate that you have. That's a clear sign of your physical fitness. We could say the same about our mental fitness. Because when we have things that kick off in our life, there will be times that we'll go, oh, and we will go into reactive stress responses. It happens. We just don't want to be hard on ourselves. These things do happen. But the key thing is The real secret is, what is our mental fitness like? Bit like our heart rate, how quickly can we bring ourselves back down to that state of balance, or the equivalent of a resting heart rate? How quickly can we recover from that mental turbulence, that chaotic stuff that's kicked off? How quickly can we bring it back down to a regulation that again means that our nervous system has a little bit of stimulation and a little bit of relaxation, not one or the other too extreme? That's a clear sign that we are strengthening and conditioning our nervous system to become resilient and flexible during trialsome times. And so really what I'd like us to consider here is that resilience and having the capacity from within our SOMA to manage these situations is really where the power lies. And every time you feel unsettled or you feel this sensation that comes around, what I'd love you to do is consider a resource that I've created that's available to the public free of charge. And the reason I'd love you to consider this is, what we're allowing ourselves to do is notice our emotions and notice our sensations and allow ourselves to sit with them. So there's this thing out there that we've always got to be happy. And sometimes it's frowned upon if we cry or we bring emotions up. But could I reassure you that that's not the case? It's healthy to have this collection of emotions. At times we will feel emotions, we will feel tearful. Sometimes we might feel pretty flat and low. Then there can sometimes be no actual reason for it. We just feel this sensation and these emotions from within. And what I'd encourage you to do is, instead of trying to go back into our headspace and cognize it, let's stay somatic. Let's stay with our bodily sensations. Let's just notice how those emotions feel, what they bring up, instead of pushing them down, which is what a lot of repressed emotion is pushing it down and just trying to be happy all the time. Just allow those emotions to come up. Because remember, we are more subconscious than conscious. We layer and hold so many things that we can't always put a reason to everything. We are like a sponge. We're soaking in things all the time. So allow those emotions to come up. Let them come up. And like a cloud in the sky, just let them waft away. Don't overanalyze. Don't wonder why. Don't try and put a label to them. Just notice the sensations, notice the emotions, and let them go. We create capacity and resilience within our nervous system when we can sit with these emotions. That really does build and take us that little bit further out of what can sometimes be a bit of an uncomfortable situation. But, you know, a bit like when you want to work out and you want to strengthen your muscles, sometimes it can be really uncomfortable to do that extra bicep curl. But we know that just taking a little bit of discomfort there builds greater strength and resilience within our muscle. Exactly the same with our repertoire of emotions that we have. When we sit with them, when we allow them just to feel uncomfortable, but just let them be and notice, that is building the resilience and capacity within your nervous system to deal with the different emotions that come up. And that's why what I'd love to share with you is this resource. And the resource, if you go to totalsomatics.com/regulate, that's totalsomatics.com/regulate. What you will see there is there's techniques to help you with the breathing, to calm everything down if you're feeling that anxiety. And when you feel that anxiety there, that can really start to create other physiological responses. So when you go to totalsomatics.com/regulate, you will find breathing and eye movements to help center you and ground you. I would also like to share with you another resource, and that resource is at totalsomatics.com/calm. That's CALM, calm. totalsomatics.com/calm. That's about 8 minutes. And that audio is literally, again, about listening, following my cues. It's a meditation. It's an awareness practice to notice your emotions and your sensations. And again, follow my cues, because when you look at these two practices, regulate and calm, you will be able to build greater capacity and resilience within your nervous system. And please keep practicing this on a regular basis. Take those principles and consider how you can weave them into different areas of your life. And in our third episode of this series, so in 2 weeks' time, you will hear a real life situation of somebody that's been doing total somatics for years, but their life turned upside down. And they used similar techniques to the ones I've just shared with you to bring about a regulation and a calming within their nervous system. So those resources again, totalsomatics.com/regulate. And then totalsomatics.com/calm. Please check those out. And I would love to hear in the comments here below, if you're watching this on the Total Somatics YouTube channel, what were your takeaway points? What did you feel after listening and following my cues with those audios? I've created this material from many years of listening to people working here and still continuing to work in clinical practice. So what I'm bringing to you is the latest tried and tested techniques that work for when we're looking at total somatic mindset, mindfulness, and total somatic movement. So again, keep in touch with me. Let me know how you're getting on. And just to let you know that at the end of this month, I will be opening the Total Somatics membership doors for a few days. So if you've been thinking about joining the membership, please look out for my announcement. And also, if you are signed up to the newsletters with Total Somatics, please look out for when I open the doors, because I would love to welcome you in, because what you will receive with those 2 audios is just a sliver of the resources and the support that you get within the Total Somatics membership. And on top of that, you're also going to start to see how I'm there creating ongoing support and creating a service for you. So I'm there every step of the way. So until next time, all my love and my very best wishes. Take care. Bye.
Thank you for joining me today. If you've enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating and also forward this on to somebody you know will benefit. To learn more about pain relief, plus how to improve your health and well-being, go to totalsomatics.com. Until next time, take care.